Tonight, on an explosive new season of the world's most amazing videos, firefighters run for cover when a tanker erupts in a cyclone from hell. Plus, a TV reporter is savagely assaulted when a police dog takes a bite out of crime. And a daredevil clings to life when a stunt goes wrong. Not once, but twice. Plus, when a bullfight goes bad, a terrified Matador gets the ride of his life. And a jumbo jet plunges from the sky and explodes in a massive fireball of flames. These are the incredible true life stories of people who face their most desperate hour and live to tell about it. Everything you are about to see is real. Real people, real danger, real excitement. Get ready to experience the thrill of a lifetime. You are about to witness the world's most amazing videos.
Natchitoches, Louisiana. It's homecoming weekend. The Northeast Louisiana University Indians clash with their arch rivals, the Northwestern State University Demons. Even though the battle on the field is fierce, it's no match for what's about to happen on the sidelines. The Indians' mascot, Chief Brave Spirit, is pumping up the crowd. But then, the Chief begins to taunt the other team's mascot, Vic the Demon, by playfully slapping him on the chin. Little does the Chief know, Shane Claybo, the tough guy in the devil suit, is mad as hell.
The rivalry is more or less between the team and not between the two mascots. I'm standing there yelling at him. And I remember saying something about, don't embarrass me in front of my school. I won't embarrass you in front of yours.
Shane claims that Chief Brave Spirit is a known bully in the mascot world. But Steve Patron, the man inside the Indian costume, says a little friendly pushing and shoving is all just part of the show.
There's an agreement, an unspoken rule, that you're just going to play wrestle. And if Shane wasn't able to do that, he should have never come to the back of the end zone.
But Shane's cartoonish demon costume can no longer conceal his rage. He throws the first punch with such velocity that his foam rubber head comes loose. Chief Brave Spirit is stunned.
I had no idea what was going on. I never went over any boundaries, or I never crossed a line.
Brave Spirit fights back, unleashing a vicious kick, followed by a powerful right hook. This chief had no intention of going on the warpath, but the devil made him do it. The TV crew covering the game can't decide what's more exciting, the action on the field or the spectacle in the end zone. In an attempt to end the fight, the chief breaks the mascot cardinal rule. He slams the demon to the ground and yanks off his head.
You don't take another mascot's head off. You don't want to beat up another mascot in front of their school and tarnish their reputation.
Now there's hell to pay. The headless demon is out for revenge.
And he proceeded to grab on my ponytails and try to rip my head off.
The demon lunges at his rival, trying to behead the bewildered chief. But he can't, because Brave Spirit's costume is securely fastened with chin straps.
But I did have something to hold my head on, which any good mascot would have.
College police finally break up the rumble. Like a victorious boxer, the cocky chief raises his arms to the cheers of the hometown crowd. The disheveled demon is helped to his feet. With the final score, Indians 28, Demons 18, there's no doubt who won on the field. But just who won the brutal brawl on the sidelines?
Oh, I do think I won.
I won the fight.
But will they ever settle the matter once and for all? Stephen says he's ready for a rematch.
Shane, if you have any problems, if you want to get this over, if you want to move on in your life, come see me. I don't have a problem with that.
Cornwall, England. Australian Daredevil Matt Coulter is preparing to jump his four-wheeled cycle over a 30-foot-high riverboat. Nicknamed the Kangaroo Kid, Matt is known all over the world for his death-defying stunts. But today's jump will be his most dangerous ever. Matt speeds around the corner and hits the ramp at full throttle, when suddenly, disaster. Watch as the rear tires hit the top of the boat, violently catapulting the Daredevil into the muddy river below. Matt is unconscious and drowning. Rescuers dive in and drag his lifeless body to the shore.
Get him up over here in your hand. Bring him in back.
But to the relief of his worried crew, Matt is still breathing. He is battered and bruised, but incredibly, he's alive.
I'm a bit dizzy, I'll tell you that. I think we can cancel that ambulance. It's actually another around. Boys here. Come on, mate. You're going to give him a kiss, eh?
Matt's son, Michael, rushes through the crowd to his father.
Hang on.
He really didn't know what the deal was there. He must have been really worried. And when I think about it, he must have been panicking a bit and just in shock himself, poor little fella.
Matt's ill-fated stunt was doomed before he ever hit the ramp. Watch again. The strong current pushed the boat closer to shore, making a successful jump virtually impossible.
When I hit the ramp, I saw it was a lot closer than it should have been. There was a rope holding it to the bank at the side, and somebody left it loose.
Was that good or what?
But as soon as Matt recovers from this harrowing ordeal, he does the unthinkable. He returns to try the stunt again.
So I wanted to prove to the world, prove to all the skeptics, that I could jump this quad and I could fly it a long way.
To prevent him from hitting the boat this time, Matt's crew has constructed an even taller ramp. The Kangaroo Kid takes a final look at his target. He immediately notices something is wrong. The higher ramp has greatly increased his risk of losing control in midair. But with the large crowd waiting for him to jump, Matt makes a fateful decision.
So I thought, I'll just go for it and see what happens. Surely I won't get killed.
Matt takes off, racing down the dirt road at 70 miles per hour. But again, disaster strikes. Matt flies off the bike and slams into the ground with bone-crushing force. His terrified wife and crew members race to his side. Remarkably, he's still conscious. Although Matt has suffered multiple fractures and severe nerve damage to his left leg, he somehow manages a smile. Miraculously, doctors are able to save Matt's shattered limb. Although he's haunted by the memories of these near-fatal jumps, the Kangaroo Kid continues to defy gravity and death.
I've sacrificed a lot. I'd nearly killed myself twice. I'm not going to give up now.
Kaohsiung, Taiwan. A highway accident sets a chemical tanker ablaze, creating a deadly emergency. The truck is filled with styrene, one of the world's most dangerous industrial chemicals. The substance is highly toxic and extremely explosive. The poisonous fumes threaten the lives of the firefighters who are trying to contain the inferno. But there's another danger. The tanker's internal cooling system has failed, and now the styrene is a ticking time bomb. The men use high-pressure hoses in an attempt to cool down the wreckage. But they're fighting a losing battle. Suddenly, the tanker explodes, filling the sky with a monstrous cloud of flames and burning ash. Watch again as 4,000 gallons of styrene ignite into a cyclone of fire, raining molten debris down on the helpless firefighters. Although 4 men suffer burns, no one is killed by the massive blast. Incredible. Considering no amount of training could have prepared these brave firefighters for this hell on earth.
Coming up, a TV reporter comes face to face with the Hound from Hell. Plus, a gymnast fights for his life when he misses his mark and crashes at full speed. And a helpless hang glider spins out of control and plummets from the sky. Then later, a jumbo jet slams into the runway and explodes on impact. Terror caught on tape. When the world's most amazing videos returns.
Marshall, Texas. Officer John Best is showing off his new partner, an 18-month-old German Shepherd named Pedro. But don't be fooled by Pedro's playful demeanor. He's a police dog, specially trained to sniff out even the tiniest amount of drugs.
Pedro's a dual-purpose dog, which means he does patrol work and he also does narcotic work.
With a single command from Sergeant Best, Pedro's razor-sharp teeth and powerful jaws can force an assailant to the ground in a matter of seconds. Local TV reporter John Gordon is on hand to cover Pedro's arrival to the force.
We had done a story earlier about the dog they had before who died, and they had a big funeral for it. So when Pedro came to town, we wanted to do a story about him.
But John's routine report takes a violent turn. As John leans forward, he puts one hand on Pedro's throat and the other behind the dog's neck, triggering the attack.
John inadvertently put his hands in the wrong place and made a dominating, threatened movement towards the dog, and he reacted as he's been trained.
Pedro sinks his lower teeth into John's lip, while his upper fangs penetrate the flesh less than an inch from John's eye.
It was kind of like being slapped in the face, but when the blood started dripping, then I knew there was a problem.
John needs 5 stitches to close the deep cuts on his lip and forehead, but he knows it could have been much worse.
These puncture wounds were very close to the eye, right along the eyebrow, so that was pretty scary.
Police say Pedro is just a little nervous about it.
Despite his injuries, John manages to finish the news story.
They're still hoping to use him for visits to area schools.
Although John is completely recovered from the vicious attack, this is one face-to-face exclusive he'll never forget.
When I look at that videotape, it still is enough to send chills down your spine.
Syracuse, New York. America's top gymnasts compete in the National Sports Festival. All-American Brian Meeker is one of the leaders in the 6-event competition. He's been anxiously awaiting this part of the program, which features his specialty, the vault.
I was good at it. It's kind of like anything, success breeds motivation. I happened to, be able to run fast, jump high, and flip well.
Brian's not satisfied with his first jump, so he carefully adjusts the springboard for his second attempt. He wants to be perfect because the competition is being broadcast on national television. Brian charges down the runway, but then he slams into the pommel horse with tremendous force and collapses in agony. An emergency medical team rushes to Brian's side. The crowd waits silently to find out just how badly he's hurt. Look again. Brian accelerates down the 65-foot runway at top speed, but he oversteps the springboard, causing him to slam chest first into the 350-pound vaulting horse. The impact snaps Brian's head backward in a jarring whiplash.
It's kind of like getting the wind knocked out of you, but multiply it times, 20. When I hit the horse, it was just confusion and shock. I was not expecting to be recoiling. I was expecting to be saluting the judge. I think you can see from looking at it that it could have been very serious if I would have rotated a little more.
Incredibly, Brian recovers in time to earn a spot on the U.S. Olympic team. But he'll never forget the terrible accident that could have ended his athletic career forever. Telluride, Colorado. The crowd is captivated as these daring young men perform a spectacular aerial ballet. It's the U.S. Hang Gliding Festival, and the champion will be the flyer who can execute the most elaborate routine. So far, the only mishaps have been a few rough landings. But without warning, a strong wind blows in and catches the men by surprise. One flyer plunges into a tailspin. Luckily, his parachute brings him safely back to Earth. Now it's Dan Murphy's turn. Normally, the veteran pilot wouldn't fly in these conditions, but he does, because there's a big title at stake. Defying the unpredictable air currents, Dan takes his hang glider as high as it can go, an incredible 4,000 feet. And begins his daring aerobatic exhibition. Then, just as he's about to complete a loop, a powerful gust hits his glider. Oh, no! Spectator Karma Denton captures the incident with her video camera.
And that's when he just stalled out right at the top. I was just imploring the heavens to spare this man and bring him to Earth safely.
Dan flips and drops into a wild free fall. He tries to deploy his parachute. Open! But it gets tangled in the frame of his glider. Open! Dan tries desperately to open his backup chute, but it gets tangled as well. He spirals out of control. Smoke and flames billow from the glider's onboard fireworks as Dan plummets toward the ground. Now, only a miracle can save him.
Oh my God! Call it off!
Stay out! Come on, stay out!
Oh!
Dan is facing certain death.
Oh my God.
Come on, throw it on, Dan.
Oh.
He disappears behind the trees and slams into the ground. Miraculously, rescue workers find Dan alive.
I ended up laying on top of the broken glider, and
At that point, I opened my eyes and did a quick check and realized there's no blood, there's no broken bones, I can wiggle my toes. So I was stunned that I was completely uninjured.
But there was one moment when Dan thought his life was over.
Once I realized that both my parachutes were tangled into the wreckage, I was pretty much out of options. There wasn't much I could do except wait for the ground to come up. I heard part of the glider brush through the trees, so I realized that I was about to hit, and I just curled up into a ball and waited for everything to stop.
Amazingly, after his brush with death, Dan couldn't wait to get back into the air.
Some people may quit flying after an incident like that, but the thought never crossed my mind.
Next up, a fighter jet crashes, turning an aircraft carrier into a floating firestorm. Plus, a father and daughter hang on for dear life when their cable car gets stranded 200 feet in the air. Then later, a supercharged speedboat catapults out of control and heads for a collision course with disaster. When the world's most amazing videos continues.
The Sea of Japan. The aircraft carrier USS Kitty Hawk is a floating city, over 1,000 feet long, armed with 85 warplanes. Landing a fighter jet on this deck in rough waters is tough enough during the day. But at night, the pilots are virtually flying blind. 11:30 p.m. The sea is swelling over 20 feet as an F-14 Tomcat comes in for a landing. From the stern of the ship, a surveillance camera captures every moment of this dangerous maneuver. The control tower warns the flight crew that their approach is slightly off target.
Just a little low.
The pilot makes the necessary adjustments.
Hold what you got. You're on glide slope. Hold what you got.
But he's still too low.
Just a little low. Little power. 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 Power.
Then, disaster. Watch again. The Tomcat crashes into the flight deck at 140 miles per hour and explodes, sending a fiery comet streaming down the runway. The flaming steel wreckage finally comes to a halt, but it explodes again. Ignoring their own safety, the Kitty Hawk's crash and salvage team races into the raging fire. Then, a horrifying sight. The pilot, who has ejected out of the plane, lands directly in the flames. Take another look. A gust of wind catches the pilot's parachute and forces him into the fire.
Get him out of there! Get him out of the fire!
Alan Weimer is the first rescuer on the scene.
For me, it was like being in hell. It was just so scary. Everything was burning. People are screaming. Watching this pilot float down into a lake of fire, and I was just, wow, you know, this is happening.
Weimer sprays foam on the pilot, who is trapped in the flames, burning alive. Incredibly, the fearless crew of the Kitty Hawk manages to rescue him from the 3,000-degree pool of burning jet fuel. Within minutes, the blaze is under control, and the pilot is airlifted to the nearest hospital. But there's no sign of the other man who was aboard the doomed fighter, Lieutenant Commander Dave Jennings. He was last seen on the Navy surveillance camera, ejecting from the exploding Tomcat just seconds after it slammed into the ship. Then, miraculously, Jennings is discovered on the narrow bow of the carrier, nearly 1,000 feet from the crash site. He vividly remembers hurtling through the air 70 feet above the flight deck.
and it's dark everywhere except the glow of different parts of the carrier as I'm whizzing by, reaching for parachute straps that aren't there yet because I want to steer, because I'm afraid of running into the superstructure of the carrier and getting impaled on something.
Jennings does not remember landing.
The next thing I know, there's like 3 guys laying on top of me and telling me to be calm and not to move. And I'm laying on the flight deck with my parachute wrapped around the nose of another airplane.
Dave Jennings survives his brush with death and is later reunited with his wife and son. Alan Weimer receives a Medal of Honor for his bravery. But this reluctant hero would rather credit his experienced rescue team.
The years of training made all the difference. People knew what they were supposed to do, and they did their jobs. And thankful for that, we all walked away from it.
Chilecito, Argentina. A cable car has slipped off its track 200 feet above a ravine. Inside, Domingo Gomez clutches his 10-year-old daughter, Ileana, as they desperately hang on for their lives. Their car is actually a rusted ore bucket once used to haul gold from this abandoned mine. Unbelievably, these relics are now used to carry sightseers over this massive gorge. The anxious crowd can only watch as Domingo and Ileana dangle precariously for more than 2 hours. Then, local resident Demetrio Vargas devises a daring plan. He climbs into another bucket and inches his way toward the frightened father and child.
I knew that the first thing to do was to find another car to reach the people that were hanging.
Finally, Demetrio is within reach. He tosses a rope to Ileana. Then her father tells her to hold on tight and jump. 200 feet above the jagged rocks, Ileana clutches the line in her trembling fingers. She closes her eyes and leaps. Watch again. Ileana jumps from the cable car. Onlookers gasp in horror as the little girl hangs in midair. She clings desperately to the swaying rope as Demetrio struggles to pull her to safety. If the rope slips from Demetrio's weakening grasp, there will be no way for Ileana to survive the fall. The crowd is hushed as Demetrio lifts the girl inch by inch closer to safety. Incredibly, he does it. Ileana is saved.
When I reached Demetrio, I felt relieved, but at the same time sad and worried, because I did not know how my papa was going to save himself.
For Ileana's father, the ordeal is far from over. His cable car has become more unstable. It could break loose at any second, and there's no room for him in the rickety rescue car. Domingo has to get out, and fast. In desperation, he loops a small piece of rope over the cable and pulls himself out of the car. Domingo is exhausted, but he somehow summons the strength to hang on. He grips the rope tightly as the crowd carefully reels him in. Finally, Domingo is safe. He collapses, thankful to be back on solid ground. Both he and his daughter Ileana will never forget Demetrio, the man who risked his life in order to save theirs.
Up next, a speedboat rockets out of the water at 70 miles an hour and slams into shore. Plus, a video classic. A desperate man steals a 60-ton tank and leads police on the most dangerous chase ever caught on tape. Then later, it's terror on the tarmac, when a jumbo jet falls from the sky. When the world's most amazing videos returns.
Fenton, Missouri. The Formula One Outboard Racing Championship is underway. These fiberglass bullets blaze across the water at speeds topping 150 miles per hour. Bill Seabold has been racing for more than 40 years.
It's really more an airplane you're trying to fly just above the water than it is a boat. They'll outturn any racing vehicle in the world, period.
But today, he's here to watch his sons, Mike in boat number 7 and Tim in boat 38, battle for the checkered flag. Tim takes to the water first in a qualifying heat against fellow competitor Mark Miller. Tim speeds along the outside as they head into a turn, but suddenly he loses control. Watch as Tim's boat collides with Miller's, launching him into a deadly mid-air somersault. Tim's protective canopy disintegrates. Now his head and neck are dangerously exposed as he soars into the trees. On land, cameraman Tom Stone narrowly escapes death as the boat flies just a few feet from his head.
If that boat would have been about 6 foot to the left and about 3 foot lower, or 2 foot lower, I had no time to get out of the way. It would have taken me out.
Tom puts down his camera and rushes into the trees to search for any sign of life.
Honestly, you know, I thought I was going to go back there, see him just smashed in the cockpit.
But seconds later, a miraculous sight.
Okay.
Incredibly, Tim walks away from the violent crash, unharmed.
I bruised my right shin from kicking the steering shaft. That was it.
I couldn't believe it. I mean, I was just so happy to see him. I really, like I said, my heart was in my mouth because I just knew it was going to be a serious accident.
Tim recalls the brutal collision that nearly cost him his life.
We were either going to hit land or we were going to hit each other. We ended up hitting each other. My boat became airborne, backflipped. When it did, I was there for the ride.
Although Tim was lucky to walk away, Bill says his son wasn't about to give up the sport he loved.
I said, thank God you're okay, you know, and all he was worried about is, can we get the backup boat ready?
Amazingly, Tim went on to race again the very next day, winning the championship. A victory made sweeter by the terrifying reminder of what could have been.
And now, an amazing video classic.
San Diego, California, 1995. A man with a history of mental problems has stolen a tank from a military installation. Now this disturbed fugitive is on the loose with a 60-ton killing machine. Air Patrol Officer Todd Jaeger is the first on the scene.
These people are completely at the mercy of whoever's in this tank right now.
Officer Jaeger and his partner hover high above the horror as the metal monster begins its rampage. The lethal treads reduce cars to piles of twisted steel. Fearful for his life, a terrified driver quickly backs away from the oncoming tank. Now the entire street is covered with the ruins of smashed cars and downed power lines. The crazed driver barrels through the crowded neighborhood, nearly sideswiping an innocent motorist. Then he charges through an intersection. Watching from her window, Lucille Santos sees the tank coming.
When it seemed to veer from that side of the street to mine, just for the moment I thought, oh my goodness, it's going to come on across.
At the last moment, the madman spares Lucille's home.
I was really frightened. just a few feet on, it took out the fire hydrant.
A water fighter at the intersection here at Bingo and Armstrong, continuing eastbound.
Then, the heavily armored vehicle rips through a motorhome in a matter of seconds. Without slowing down, the deranged driver continues to wreak havoc using a van like a battering ram. The violent sounds of destruction bring the owner of this RV to the street.
When I went outside, I just seen my whole block demolished. And then when I went to go look at the motorhome, half of it was gone. And it was just devastating, actually.
Fewer than 10 minutes into this reign of terror, the quiet city streets have been transformed into a war zone. Sandra Pinnell and her daughter Heather tremble with fear after their minivan is sideswiped by the enraged outlaw.
I tried to get out, and I didn't unbuckle my seatbelt. I ended up covering my face and scrunching up like a little ball and started screaming.
San Diego police have now arrived in full force. But it's too late. The crazed driver is headed onto the freeway. Now the police are determined to end this nightmare. But the maniac makes one final desperate move. He veers into the center divider toward oncoming traffic. There's no time to waste. Abandoning the safety of their patrol cars, the officers jump onto the moving tank. They force the hatch open, not knowing if the madman is armed. The police officer orders the driver to surrender. But the lunatic has no intention of giving up. The patrolman has no choice but to discharge his weapon. Finally, the insanity is over.
I think the two officers jumping on top of the tank was by far the most heroic thing I have ever seen from the air. It was outstanding.
Thanks to the bravery of the San Diego police and the California Highway Patrol, no citizens are harmed.
Coming up, a rampaging bull threatens the life of a terrified Matador. Plus, it's a horrifying sight when a jumbo jet bursts into flames. What could have possibly gone wrong? Find out when the world's most amazing videos continues. Now for the viewer video of the week, sent to us by Deborah Martinez of San Jose, California.
Seville, Spain. 5 California high school students are enjoying a once-in-a-lifetime field trip. The excited teenagers are loving every moment of their adventure. That is, until their teacher, Deborah Martinez, takes them to see their first bullfight.
From the beginning, my students didn't want to attend the event, but they relented because they knew it was part of the Spanish culture.
It was really sad. I know. It's all because of man's need to feel superiority and control.
Little do they know they're about to witness one of the most horrifying spectacles ever seen in a bull ring. Deborah's camera rolls as Matador Jose Garcia steps onto the sand. Brenda Hartman, a school chaperone, notices that the bull looks especially fierce.
When this particular bull come charging out into the arena, you could tell and you could see that the bull was very aggressive.
But Jose, known to his fans as El Doctor, handles the beast with surgical precision. When the bull appears defeated, Jose raises his sword for the final thrust. But then, the tables are turned.
The whole crowd in the bull ring gasped out of horror, including my kids, and I just couldn't believe this was happening.
It was very shocking to see something like this.
Watch closely. Jose moves in for the kill, but the bull dodges his blade. Then the angry beast turns on the Matador. Jose tries to run, but he can't escape. The bull spears him with its deadly horns and launches him into the air. Jose is driven 30 agonizing feet. Then the enraged animal slams him into the ground. With its horns still impaling the Matador, the 1,000-pound bull flies over and crashes down on top of him.
Looking through the lens and seeing this man being gored by this bull, it all seemed like a dream to me. It didn't seem real.
Although Deborah can't believe what she's seeing, she keeps shooting.
It seemed like if I had to remove my eyes from that lens, everything would stop. But I really couldn't even believe that this was really going on and this guy was really actually facing death.
Somehow, Jose struggles to his feet. An emergency crew rushes him to the hospital. Jose survives and recovers from his injuries. But the memory of this terrifying experience is something Deborah and her students won't soon forget. A Boeing 707, a jumbo jet that can carry 240 passengers and crew, is on final approach. But suddenly, the giant aircraft veers out of control. The jetliner explodes on impact, bursting into a massive fireball as it rockets down the tarmac to a blazing stop. Miraculously, no one is killed in this horrifying accident, and no one is even injured. That's because this jumbo jet was crashed on purpose. Edwards Air Force Base, California. The Federal Aviation Administration has teamed with NASA to test a new fuel additive designed to reduce the threat of fire in the event of a crash. The plane is filled with test dummies and is guided by remote control. Air Force veteran Fitz Fulton is the pilot for this uniquely challenging mission.
I've never had any desire to crash an airplane. I've spent my whole career trying to avoid that.
Using cockpit cameras and a computer-guided tracking system, Fitz will steer the aircraft from takeoff to its ultimate crash landing. Rocks placed on the tarmac will generate sparks as these jagged steel cutters rip through the jet's fuel tanks. The command is given. Fitz guides the aircraft as it takes off and reaches an altitude of 2,000 feet. Then, he controls the plane on its descent to the hazardous runway below. The left wing strikes the ground first as the jet swerves and erupts into flames. Watch again as a wing cutter punctures the tank, releasing fuel and igniting the explosion. Back at Mission Control, experts are disappointed that the special fuel has caused such an enormous blaze.
There was some thought that with that kind of fuel, you'd have less of a fireball.
But despite the explosion, the experiment is a success. That's because, though intense, the fire never reached the dummies inside the cabin. The cost of this crash test was $12 million. The lives it will save are priceless. If you have an amazing video, then we want to hear from you. Just send it to World's Most Amazing Videos, Post Office Box 933026, Los Angeles, California 90093. If we use it, there's a cash reward waiting for you. So send your amazing videos today.
The World's Most Amazing Videos will return. Next on The World's Most Amazing Videos. A good stunt goes bad, turning a man into a human fireball. Plus, a stadium wall collapses, sending soccer fans plunging to the ground. And it's madness behind bars as a prison riot rages out of control. Plus, a ship packed with dynamite blows up, blasting its crew into the air. Next time on The World's Most Amazing Videos.